Do you struggle to create connection via text messaging? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you some do's and don'ts so you can better create that connection. Coming up next. What's up, everyone? Madi the Get Game Guy here, and I want to share with you a question that was posed to me, a request from one of my Get Game Group Academy members who was asking me to take a look at some of his conversations that he was having on Tinder to identify what was he doing wrong. He was like, am I doing the wrong thing with trying to qualify? Am I doing it wrong? I looked at it and there was just so much going on. What I wanted to do is just break it down for everyone to view so that we can all learn some of these lessons about better practices with online dating conversations, what's right, what's wrong, and I know that there's so much that you can kind of get from this. So let's get into it. Here's the thing that I want you to understand. This is not his first language or probably hers, so understand that going into it. So normally I would say that absolutely language is critical. We want to make a great first impression, but you know what? It's a pretty damn good impression to me if you can speak to me in your second, third language. So let's not be sticklers about any grammatical errors or spelling, whatever. Okay, let's just get into it and see what happened. First, the first screenshot is the beginning of the conversation. So he opens her, which men usually you're gonna have to do. Women, I encourage you to often message way more because high value men are getting women who've messaged them first. So to compete, you're gonna have to start messaging first way more often. Um, so let's look what happens. He does take the responsibility to engage first, which is traditionally the man's role. And what he does is I like what he doesn't do. He doesn't provide he doesn't send a hi, hey, how are you? And he doesn't send a copy paste message. And he doesn't send a message that might be good, but has nothing to do with anything on her profile. What he's done was looked at her profile, it's clear, and he tried to pull something out of it to start a conversation with, which is what you want to do. The best way to have a conversation with somebody is to identify what they relate to, what they find valuable or important, and talk about that. That's why talking about someone's dog or something, man, everybody loves their dog. Dogs, there's just, how do you not love your dog? And if you put your dog in your online dating profile, people love to talk about their dogs. It's a great way to start a conversation. It's just not what you want to have be the entire conversation. So he starts off well with, look what I found here, a mad artist like me. We have a lot in common. So he saw something in her profile that says that she's an artist. And so he throws in mad artist because that's more fun to talk about, like face it. If you were an artist, wouldn't it be better if someone messaged you and started like, hey, you're a mad artist like me? You're like, yeah, you'd probably smile about it, but you wouldn't be upset or anything. What I don't like is what he put after that. He put, we have a lot in common. Look, it's pretty damn clear that your opening message was meant to represent a commonality, but you don't have to spell it out like we have a lot in common. Actually, you've just pointed out one thing, and now it looks kind of silly if you're going to jump into saying we have a lot in common. So that makes it start to sound like bullshit, like you're trying to convince me like we have too much in common when you just stated one thing. Can we slow down first? So slow down there with trying to impose that we have so much in common. One of the things that men mess up with is trying to appeal to women's logic. Like, hey, you're single, I'm single, you're free Thursday night, I'm free Thursday night, we should go out. And she's like, yeah, no, we shouldn't. Why? Because she doesn't feel that way about you. She doesn't feel like going out with you. She doesn't feel attracted to you. She doesn't feel that just because you're single and she's single that you two are meant to be or should be going out. Appealing to logic doesn't work with women in most cases, like men think it does. So what he needs to do instead is appeal to her feelings. Once she's feeling good and positive towards him, then then it's on. Like you can say literally anything, and she will her story about you will be a positive one. But don't try and shove that down somebody's throat that we have a lot in common. It just you're trying too hard and you're appealing to logic, and it's just falling flat. Okay, so don't do that too much, guys. Pay attention. So she says, "Is it nice? Although I am not mad." So she's engaging, but this is my first clue of like, who the hell would say I'm not mad? Like, just it's playful. Just go with it, okay? And when I don't see that happening, I'm taking a mental, little mental note here. Hmm. That was strange. You know why it's strange? Because if I see a pattern of this, I'm going to start to think that she is maybe a literal thinker, where I'm going to have to watch my words. And whatever I say is how she's going to take it. Or she might be one of these people who's just less socially aware, less socially just, like competent. That if you say something like, she'll take it seriously when it's not serious. So just a mental note right there, okay? So he goes, haha, artists are mad. What adventure was your best adventure? Couple things. One, I like that he said, haha, artists are mad. Because he's basically saying, like, it's okay. As being playful, hence the haha. So he's softening it and giving it context. I like that. I also like that he knows to say haha and not lol. Because haha is different than saying laughed out loud. Stop writing lol so often. Replace it more often with haha. It's more appropriate. Um, but what I don't like is that he combined two messages. You don't wanna write too much in your messages. You want to start off simple with a message, but you don't want to have one, two, three, four, five things to talk about and respond to. You want to give her one thing. You want it to be like a tennis match where you hit it, then she hits it back and forth. Then you hit it back, then she hits it back. That's how the conversation needs to go. But he starts off now talking about two things. He in a way I like that he's plowing forward, so he's not staying on it, but he just kind of goes straight into what adventure. Something just to be careful about, like just talking about too many things. You'll see in the conversation. I say this probably because I know it's coming. He does bring too many things into one message, so you might not understand why, but after a few messages like this, you'll see why. I just pointed out a little early. Okay, but he's asking, what adventure was your best adventure? Cool. So I'm thinking he's probably looked at her profile and identified that she's got either pictures or in her written content something that says that she's a little playful, or not playful, adventurous. Okay, so he's gonna, want to find out more. Well, she says, I loved kayaking the most. All right. She says about kayaking that it was peaceful and serene. Awesome, that's great. But you know what? He's gonna respond with, "Yeah, it's peaceful. Then why don't you try river rafting? It's a little wild with thrill. Where are you from?" Remember, I said you gotta have not more than one message in your message. Well, he's talking about kayaking, and then he's talking about where you're from. Slow it down, chop it up, chop that up into two different messages, because what you should have done was just talk about the river rafting a little wild with thrill and then allow her an opportunity to respond, to participate, to add something to the conversation. Instead, he just ends the conversation about rafting kind of to me. And like he's ending it by bringing in a new question. And as you see, it's going to get kind of awkward because we have this back and forth because there's not that one thing at a time. Instead, now it's two things at a time. Which one are we responding to? So it's not as clean as it should have been. So now she's still trying to talk about rafting. So she says, "I have done rafting," and then he goes again. He's done talking about that. So where are you from? Plowing forward, plowing forward is fine as long as you're calibrated and aware of the setting, aware of what's going on. She's talking about rafting, so you don't just ignore her. Like the thing is, you're working basically to get a woman or anyone invested in the conversation. So when they invest and they start talking about a topic, you can't just shut it down, which is what to me he did. But now we're moving on to where you're from. So she shares with him, and then he goes, seriously? This is a surprise, which to me, man, my bullshit meter just went off. Like, is it really a surprise? Maybe, but it sets off my bullshit meter, and women are great about spotting bullshit, especially because men do things like in conversations, especially in the dating setting, will they think that, well, I'll just agree with her and whatever her interests are, that's my interest in. It's kind of like those moments when people are like, you like that band? I like that band too. You like that? I like that food too. Like, you live where? Oh my God, I'm so surprised. I have a feeling like this guy's, like been exposed to some pickup, but he doesn't understand it, and he doesn't understand how to modify it. And when you just take some cookie cutter pickup, strategies, they stick out when you do stuff like, seriously, this is a surprise, So let's see how things are going. So he says where he's from, okay? And she's like, oh, okay, that's nearby. And but she's not engaging like, what a surprise too. She's just like, oh, that is nearby. So he goes, haha, you can go by walk. which is fine, like he's playful. He's like, yeah, we're in walking distance, but he throws in a haha because is she gonna walk around? No, but she could. But it doesn't matter. It's just good to know that he's being playful because if you look at the conversation that he has, I appreciate a haha rather than, oh, that's nearby. She offers, if you notice, she doesn't use emojis. She doesn't allow you to really understand where her head is at. Like how she's responding. You just like, oh, that's nearby. You don't know if it's, oh, that's nearby or, oh, that's nearby. You don't know. And I think that's on her. So if you are in the position as male, female, where you're interacting with somebody, be more like this guy. He uses haha, he uses emojis to help you understand what's he actually feeling on the other end of this conversation. We really don't have any other. Right now, I feel like she's a robot without feelings. Oh, that's nearby. Type, type, type. It's not exciting. So, okay, but then he goes into which company are you working for? So he's basically just asking about her work. Not a big deal. But then, he's realizing I've sent two messages on Saturday in the afternoon. I haven't heard anything. And he kind of just like, I can't wait any longer. I'm gonna message a third time. The first two go together, so that's not a big deal of like two messages because he goes, haha, you can go by walk, and then he goes, which company are you working for? I'm fine with that. But now we have three messages, which just optically doesn't look as good when you're sending messages that aren't responded to. But at times that is necessary. But he says he can't wait any longer, so he says, how many hobbies do you have? You impressed me. Okay, so I like that he's trying, well, like, he's like, well, the conversation isn't going anywhere. Let's jumpstart it again. So I'm going to ask her about herself. So he asked her about her hobbies. But again, remember, like, the very first line, I didn't like when he said, you're a mad artist like me. We have so much in common. I was like, leave the we have so much in common out. Leave that out. Well, over here, he's asking about her hobbies. Well, what I would have told him to leave out was the part where he says, "You impress me." Again, my bullshit meter would go off because like, for what? Like for having a shitty conversation with you? Like, did I impress you? Like if this is what impresses you, like all you've seen is my pictures, my written content, and probably some this is and probably you only just some horrible conversation so far. You really impressed? And she's probably gonna be like, my feeling is just like she's not going to receive it well. Most women wouldn't. Oh, you impress me. Bullshit. Bullshit meter goes off whether it's valid or not. Any woman should probably, and even men in this position too. If you told me like, oh, you impress me, I'd be like, really? Why? Like really already or how? I wouldn't buy it. So in any case, he does get her to engage again, which is great. As long as you have communication, you have a chance. So she says, ha ha ha, just a few. So she's talking about her hobbies. Now, finally, an emoji. She gives you one smiling emoji. So maybe that's because he said she impresses him. I don't know, but I wouldn't say that. It's not a good move. So he takes the smiling emoji and he's like, "Fuck it, it's now or never. Let's hurry up and do this." And to me, he prematurely asks for the meat. He goes, "Let's continue this discussion over coffee." Now, let me ask you this: how great has her discussion been? Not very. How involved has her participation been in the conversation? Not very. Like this conversation hasn't gone that well. It's been a conversation, but to me, it's just a conversation. It has been a great conversation. And when you ask someone to level up, to meet, for a phone number, for a date, whatever it is, whenever you're leveling up, you should know the response in advance. You should know it's going to be a yes. Because you have a, even if you're wrong, you should look to be like, before I ask this, you should know what's going to happen. You should feel like I'm 90% certain that the answer to this will be positive, or at worst, maybe I just asked too soon, but it's not going to be a no. But he pushes for meeting on the coffee, which is good for him for asking and trying to push things forward. However, to me, it was a little bit early because there weren't the signs of investment like I'd prefer. So he gets no response, and again, a day later, he messages, "Hey, trouble." One thing to remember about online dating is people don't don't check their online dating as often as you think they do. When you're really into online dating, when you're in your groove, you're probably checking it multiple times per day. But then there are times when you go days without, or longer periods of hours without checking. Overall, we have an average of, probably looking at it, maybe every other day average. At times it's heavier, at times it's less frequent. But you have to understand, just think about when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and they're not messaging you back immediately. Remember that online dating participation, people don't get on there every few hours, even every day. So you have to at least wait at least wait a day before you start hitting the panic button on why haven't they responded, and then you wait even longer to give them a chance. So he calls her and he says, "Hey, Trouble," and she goes, "What?" The name is. So remember, I said we got to worry about her being a literal thinker. He calls her Trouble, and it's just like he called her a mad scientist. She's like, "What?" The name is. So we have an issue here, and even there, I have an issue with her communication because she's saying, "What?" and you don't know what sort of place the what is coming from. Like what, or what? Confused, angry. We don't know how she's feeling what. But we do know that she goes back into the literal mode of, my name is actually, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like for me, I could never deal with someone like this. But he goes, no, he sticks with it, and I like how he kind of, again, he tries to let her know, like, hey, this is a fun and soft conversation. So he goes, no, Trouble is much better sound, and it suits you. It I mean, like, I get what he's trying to do, but he doesn't understand who he's working with. She's not going for this. She's got a different mind. Other people would have gone with that route and had more fun with that sort of path of the conversation. She's not going there though. But I like what he's doing. He's trying to let her know it's being playful. More emojis, like, stop being so serious. And then we've got him not letting anything simmer. You got to let it simmer for at least a day. At least a day. So just 8 hours later, because she hasn't messaged back, he says, I like trouble girls. And here we go into, like, remember I said I spot the bullshit? Like, what I'm spotting is basically, man, this guy is, to me, he's been exposed to some pickup and he's just throwing out shit, and he doesn't know the why behind it. Remember, when I teach game, I love teaching the why. So you can't just say I like trouble girls because you saw that I'm supposed to write that, and that makes people try and prove themselves, and she'll qualify herself as being trouble or being playful, and she'll engage and tell me some fun things and maybe some sexual things, or no. No, like, this isn't the girl to say, like, I like trouble girls. She's far from that. So far, everything about me tells you she's a big square, and I just made a rectangle. But maybe I should edit that again. Try it again. Square? Better? I don't know. Um, but I like trouble girls. Like, this isn't a trouble girl. You're just pushing that line, and That's why I said, I was like, the things that you're saying in your conversation, to me, it just seemed like it wasn't you. It seemed like it was a line that you don't know how to use. Like, you're using stuff, and it's just out of context or at the wrong moment. Um, so he didn't get a response. Now Wednesday, he goes into, have you been to a Halloween party? That's fine. What is he doing? He's trying to restart the conversation, so he's asking again, trying to just jumpstart the conversation from nothing. And then he just goes into another effort because he hasn't heard from her in, I guess, now half a week, which, like, you might have lost her, probably did, but it doesn't sound like you guys were much of a connection. And that's also important to understand. You weren't much of a connection. Like, she was socially awkward. She was a square. She was a literal thinker. She couldn't be playful. And this guy, he's just trying to have a good conversation. Sure, I think he's throwing in some pickup efforts that are just, like, very poorly executed. Um, but that's what's gone on here. That's my impression. This girl is just not the one for you, and she's seeing that you're not the one for her. And I don't really think that you're missing out on anything. Like, maybe if you had a different connection with this girl, you can update me. That's great. But my assessment is that this wasn't a great situation. So I hope you all kind of got some great value and insight from this breakdown. It's something that we just, with online dating, it's just a different world. Look at how much we just took out of just 5 screenshots. Had so much to talk about out of just 5 screenshots. So you all take care. Remember that life is a game, online dating is a game, so you better get game. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you're sick of feeling stuck and you're ready to level up your game and your meh love life, take action now. Click the link below to visit our website and experience our virtual game advisor feature. Choose the path of your game journey from the recommendations and resources ready and waiting for you.